Um, we're streaming. If you we probably can't hear me now.
I can hear you.
Uh, we're streaming both in uh, vertical and horizontal format.
Cool. That's why it looks a little different.
Yeah, that's the thing on the left there. It's a new feature. So they're all constantly upgrading the features. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us. We're live here on Silicon Scoop, but John was just asking me a couple of questions about if I still like StreamYard. And overall, I do. It's still the best product out there for this as far as I'm concerned. And they're changing it all the time. And sometimes that makes it frustrating when you go into it and you see menus are changed, this has changed, layouts changed. But one of the things changed now is you can actually dual stream to horizontal and vertical at the same time to the same platforms and stuff. So it's interesting. All right, we might as well jump right into it. Yeah, that's it. If I don't mess up the how to pronounce it, will be great. That's up. It's up. It's up. Let me just move it here so I can see it better, and we'll get going. Today, we're talking about a potential revolutionary new technology called ionocaloric cooling. This is an exciting topic because it could completely change the face of refrigeration and air conditioning, moving us away from harmful gases that are warming our planet and offering a safer, more efficient alternative. What's going on here, John?
Yeah, this is cool. I know we've covered refrigeration, I think, once or twice before in the past. This is a new one that we haven't covered. So scientists at Berkeley Lab, they've invented a completely new way of keeping things cool that's been inspired by how salt melts ice on winter roads. So what they've done is instead of using harmful gases like traditional refrigerators and air conditioners, this ionocaloric cooling method, it uses salt and electricity to create cooling effects. Now, how it works is pretty simple. Just like adding salt to ice makes it melt without adding heat, this technology uses salt particles called ions flowing through a special liquid to make cooling happen. So when electricity flows through the system, it moves these salt particles around and it causes the liquid to freeze or melt in ways that absorb heat from the surroundings, essentially cooling things down. So why does this matter, right? It matters because for those of you that don't know, current refrigeration systems, they use gases that are thousands of times worse for global warming than carbon dioxide. So this new method could replace harmful chemicals with completely safe, recyclable materials while potentially being more efficient and cheaper. So we're not there yet, though. For this to be useful, in their first test, they did achieve a 25 degree Celsius or 45 degree Fahrenheit temperature drop using less than 1 volt electricity, which is better performance than other experimental cooling options. And those other ones are I think we talked about elastocaloric we covered, but then there's air-based, but then obviously there's vapor compression. So what are your thoughts on this, Craig? Do you think this is a potential here?
Well, this is interesting, and I'm going to dumb it down for people here. So it's a new way to cool things down, just using salt and a tiny bit of electricity instead of using compressed gas, right? It moves ions from salt in a liquid, and when the ions move, it causes the material to melt and absorb the heat, making things cold.
Yeah.
So when the process inverts, it solidifies and releases heat. Think of it as a rechargeable cooling cycle based on salt melting, I guess. I like it. I just don't know if it's really going to move the needle in the cooling industry. I mean, it sounds all nice, but how much cooling power are we going to be able to actually produce? What have the labs got us so far at, John?
What do you mean?
Well, like, I mean, the cooling systems achieve temperature changes from 20, yeah. 25, 28 degrees, using less than 1 volt of electricity. So I'm saying, like, how much are we actually going to be able to cool this technology? Is it going to be like a whole room? Is it really going to get us much cooler? Is it just going to get us a couple of degrees?
I think we're going to be able to surpass. So they're targeting systems capable of achieving temperature lifts exceeding 50 degrees Celsius, which is what's required for practical refrigeration applications. The other ones that the other one that we had covered, which is elastocaloric, that's achieved a 75-degree temperature lift. That's a record, but they're in the prototype stage. So ionocaloric is in early prototype. Elastocaloric is in a prototype stage. And then obviously we've got vapor compression, which has a greater than 50 degrees Celsius temperature lift. The thing with the ionocaloric is it's a 30% efficiency versus other ones, which elastocaloric is variable, air-based. It's a 50% efficiency. So we're getting there, but we're still in the early prototype stage, whereas the other ones are like the air-based is at a development stage, elastocaloric is at the prototype stage. So we're still early stages.
Yeah, and over 50% of homes energy goes to heating and cooling. So potential HVAC systems, commercial refrigeration systems, battery thermal management in electric vehicles and so on, and industrial process manufacturing, and data center cooling. I'm just not 100% sold that this, out of all the cooling things that we've looked at and that we've seen coming out, that this is going to be the one. Is that fair to say?
It's fair to say, but here's the thing. It's a solid state technology, right? So that eliminates concerns about refrigerant leak, which is the hydrofluorocarbons, HFCs, which is used right now. It reduces maintenance requirements, and it potentially offers longer operational lifespans than current conventional systems. Not the other refrigerant technologies that are being developed. Now, I'm guessing that most of these companies, the appliance companies, aren't going to like that it's a longer lifespan, because then that means they can't sell you as many replacements, right? But I think this has potential. I know hearing salt and using salt in a machine, but it's not salt, it's ions, right? In a refrigerant type system might cause some instability or things like that, but I think there's a lot of potential here. What, you don't think so?
Hey, Mylan, thanks for watching, and thanks for saying hello. I think there's potential. I look at this saying, okay, so the ions move through the salt and it melts, and that releases energy.
Yeah.
Which is great. And then the same happens when it solidifies. So my problem is that you only have so much. So how much salt of this type in how big of a container will it take to cool a whole room in the summer? Because at some point it's going to be solid and it needs to melt completely, and then sometimes it's going to be melted completely and it needs to go. And when it's the other way, it's going to be releasing heat. So I look at it little like a heat pump, I guess, which says cool and heating. But the problem is you can only do it when it's all melted. You can't melt it anymore, and when it's all solid, you can't make it solid anymore. So how much do you need?
That's true. Yeah. I don't know, but I think what I was reading is they're looking. So they're still in the R&D phase, right? So I think that even at the early prototype stage of how they've developed this, I think there's potential for this to, I don't know, maybe it's not in HVAC systems. Maybe it's being used in other systems that support this. Maybe it's that. I don't know, but I think this is a technology that will be commercialized at some point. What capacity and what application? Who knows? Maybe it's in data centers.
Yeah, and I think it looks like, based on the research, they're already trying to improve the life cycle beyond the current prototypes and extending the operational commercial viability. And they want to achieve up to 100 degrees with changes with the advanced materials. So, maybe my skepticism is unduly put towards this. It looks like it's going to be a very interesting technology. I'm just not sure if it's actually able to do what they're talking about. Is this actually going to be industrial level cooling 24 hours a day? Where does the heat go? Is it ejected outside like many of the other things? I guess that's easy enough to do.
Yeah.
I guess it's easy enough to do. They probably already figured those things out to some degree, and maybe my concerns are unwarranted. It just feels like, at some point it won't be able to cool anymore, or it won't be able to heat anymore, depending on which way you're going.
They've got to have a solution for that. Maybe not, but so apparently, like, there's major HVAC manufacturers that are actively seeking breakthrough cooling technologies, and apparently the global HVAC market is projected to exceed, I didn't realize this is huge, $280 billion by 2023. Or sorry, 2030. 2023.
And I guess they're using liquid phase materials that are pumpable, so solving some of the solid state limits. So if you can pump the salt through, then it can exist in another state somewhere else, and form either a solid or liquid and come back through. So absolutely, they probably solved this problem. I'm just, again, how much does it take? How long does it take to switch states to come back and be reusable? So again, how much do you need? I like the idea. It looks great. It looks like it's going to be low energy. Anytime we can come up with solutions that are better for the environment overall, or lower energy, because let's face it, AI is going to take all the energy it can get. And so every volt that we can save, AI will scoop up and do. But we'll do our best to keep this low voltage stuff happening. I love where this is going.
Let's geek out for a second. So,
okay.
How the system operates. So it controls the flow of electricity charged atoms or ions from salts through a working fluid. And so that's typically ethylene carbonate. So when the electric current is applied, ions migrate through the medium, fundamentally altering the material's melting point through a colligative properties, which is the same scientific principle behind road salt preventing ice formation. So the ionic concentration change, it forces a solid to liquid phase transition, and that absorbs latent heat from the surrounding environment, which creates a cooling effect. So the process is also reversible. So when the current is removed or reversed, ions are extracted, the material resolidifies and releases heat, completing that thermodynamic cycle. Does that make a little bit more sense to you?
Definitely makes more sense. Again, I'm just curious as to how fast that all happens, right? And how much you would need to cool a large room versus, like, how big of an air conditioner, like on equivalent size, what's the equivalent of a 5,000 BTU or a 50,000 BTU size for something like this? That's, I guess, what I'm trying to get at. That can run 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
But I'm obviously, they're moving on it. People are really looking into it, and I love the concept of it, and that they're moving this forward. We had, this is ionocaloric cooling today is a technology. It's at the early stages, but its a promise is massive. And we'll keep a close eye on this, like we do with other cooling technologies. And, maybe I'm a skeptic, but maybe this is the one who's going to run through, and we'll let you know what happens as it goes along. Will this tech finally be the one that cools our homes and our planet? Let us know what you think. Leave your comments below. Let's dive into a fascinating and frankly mind-bending topic. Has science just proven that we are not living in a computer simulation? New research says yes, and the implications could change everything we know about reality, physics, and even our own consciousness. So new research uses established ironclad mathematical theorems from thinkers like Gödel and Tarski to argue that our universe cannot be a computer simulation. In short, any simulation would have to run on algorithms, and these theorems prove that any algorithmic system is fundamentally incomplete. It will always have gaps or contradictions. The researchers argue that since our reality appears complete and consistent, it can't be a simulation. What do you think about this, John?
Yeah. So shout out to DeGrasse for this, because he thinks we're in a simulation. So an international team of physicists, which was led by Dr. Faisal at the University of BC, by the way, in Canada, they just mathematically proved that being in a simulation is impossible by using century-old mathematical principles called Gödel's incompleteness theorems. And that shows that some truths can never be proven through step-by-step logic, no matter how advanced your computer is. So it's like having a true statement that says, this statement cannot be proven. If you try to prove it, you break logic itself. So why does this matter? So any computer simulation, no matter how advanced, has to follow programmed rules or algorithms. But these researchers, they proved that the fundamental nature of reality requires something called non-algorithmic understanding, which is a type of comprehension that goes beyond what any computer program can achieve. So the bottom line here is that our reality is actually real. We're not living in someone's cosmic video game, and we never could be, because the universe operates on principles that no computer, no matter how powerful, could ever simulate. What do you think? Do you agree with this, or are you skeptical on this?
I'm a little skeptical on this one. I don't think we're living in a simulation, so I don't, that let's start there. Secondly, I don't we are just reaching the understandings or bending our understanding of the universe. We are changing our theories on how it exists and how quantum physics reacts with normal physics. And we're starting to put these pieces together that, Tarski and Gödel never really understood because they didn't really exist, quantum physics and whatnot back in the day. So we sit back and say, okay, we never have that computational power, right? It can't happen. Well, what do you mean it can't happen? Because we don't have it, we wouldn't exist inside our own computers. That doesn't make sense. We'd exist inside some other computer that is beyond all this technology, because this technology exists inside this other computer thing. And the world responds to certain rules that could obviously be programming. I don't know. I feel that in our known state, yes, this is true. But as we move forward and as quantum mechanics and quantum physics gets more and more real, and I like to say, quantum is magic. We're predetermining the future with quantum computing, and all of a sudden the world is a different place. So I think it is possible for a simulation to be this complete. I just don't believe we're living in one.
I agree. No, I don't. So I'm not convinced that we're not living in a simulation. I think that this just goes to show the limits of our understanding, if that makes sense. So they're talking about these principles that are not quantum-based principles. And so I think that if you look at the quantum side of things, there is still a likely chance that we might be living in a simulation. And I disagree with them that the computational power is we couldn't achieve that power. I think that's a limitation in our current technology and our understanding of current technology. Or understanding of future technology.
This challenges the hugely popular simulation hypothesis like we're talking about. More importantly for science, it suggests a decades-long question of a single computational theory of everything is impossible. And it forced us to reconsider the nature of reality itself. So I always thought that, chasing down a single computational theory of everything was a ridiculous idea. But it doesn't mean we would learn so much along the way that the doing it is worth it, even though we probably never will ever get a theory of everything, because logically in the universe expansion, all this stuff, and our literal understanding as babies in this universe would mean that, you know, how long we would never get there, and why would a single theory happen? But chasing it has revealed all this stuff for science, and the value of the quest is more than the value of the end goal, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. So there's a little bit more that we can talk about here. So
Of course,
what they're saying is the mathematical proof establishes that since reality's fundamental nature requires non-algorithmic understanding, that there's no simulation, which must operate algorithmically and can replicate the universe. So they're saying that even hypothetical civilizations with unlimited computational resources would face these same mathematical constraints. And so the research itself extends beyond simple computational limitations to demonstrate that the universe's basic operating principles exist outside algorithmic frameworks entirely. And so that's the part here that they're saying has profound implications for artificial intelligence development, which is suggesting that true consciousness or intelligence might require access to non-algorithmic understanding rather than mere increased computational power. And their work also challenges information physics approaches that attempt to explain phenomena like dark matter and dark energy through computational rules, indicating that these also require non-algorithmic explanations. And so I see where they're coming from, but I still am skeptical.
Yeah, and they suggest that like the black hole information paradox illustrates the limitations perfectly. Like when matter falls into the black hole, quantum mechanics says the information about the matter must be preserved. However, general relativity suggests that information disappears when the whole evaporates. So computational approaches to quantum gravity struggle with this paradox because they cannot algorithmically solve the fundamental tension between these two theories. This contradiction reveals a deeper issues when trying to reduce all physics to computational processes. Yeah, I guess. But, you know, if we were living in a video game, the video game would decide which physics applies to this particular situation, and we wouldn't understand it, would we?
Yeah, we would.
Well, I mean, if we're living here on the world and we've analyzed the physics here, and then, but out there in space, there's different rules applied near black holes. They have their own gravitational rules that we haven't discovered before that don't apply and now override regular physics because, again, we're in a computational simulation. You know, we wouldn't necessarily understand why our rules are no longer applying, is all I'm saying.
Well, yeah, because it's quantum rules then. You know what? Anytime you say we can understand, I'm just going to throw quantum at you. So
magic.
It's magic.
So no computational theory of everything, the need for non-algorithmic understanding. And this non-rhythmic understanding, you know, suggests that maybe, are we assuming that we're in a simulation and there wasn't a non-algorithmic being or beings involved in the creation of this?
I don't know.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So why would you assume that, you know, since algorithm cannot provide complete, consistent descriptions of reality, no simulation universe could fully capture all aspects of existence? And secondly, how do you know that they're not currently, like, let's just say in World of Warcraft, where they're constantly updating the code to this simulation that we're in all the time, so that things change?
True. Yeah.
I guess from a scientific theory and our current understanding of the universe, based on these theories, we've broken the simulation theory, and it says it can exist, and maybe a meta theory of everything with a non-algorithmic elements is what we should be moving towards.
Maybe. Yeah.
This seems what the evidence seems to be pointing towards. So these findings might affect multiple areas of scientific research, artificial intelligence, cosmology, philosophy of mind, and information theory. So it'll be interesting to see how this maps our understanding of the universe moving forward. And I'd love to hear what some of the simulation theory people come out with about this as a response. You know, Zuck and Elon and several others believe we're in a simulation, and be love to hear what their response to this is.
Absolutely.
So the universe isn't a program, and our consciousness might be a fundamental part of reality, not just a byproduct of information. It's a huge idea to wrap your head around, and it means the most human parts of us, our intuition and creativity, might just be the key to understanding everything. We'll be tracking this one. Thanks for watching, and let us know what you think. Let's talk about one of the biggest, most ambitious moonshot ideas to come out of Google in years. It's called Project Suncatcher, and it's a plan to solve one of the biggest problems with AI. It's massive energy consumption by moving data centers off of Earth and putting them into space. We're talking about constellations of satellites powered 24/7 by solar energy, all to run the next generation of artificial intelligence. It sounds like science fiction, but the first prototypes are scheduled to launch by 2027. That's just 2 years away. Google plans to launch a network of satellites that act as floating data centers in orbit. Instead of building massive, power-hungry AI facilities on Earth, they put their computer chips, called the TPUs, in space, where they can be provided power 24/7 by the sun. What do you think about this, John?
Yeah, this is cool. So people might be asking, why space? Well, it's pretty simple. AI, as we know, is incredibly power hungry, and we're running out of clean energy on Earth to feed it. So in space, satellites can capture up to 8 times more solar power than panels on Earth, because there's no atmosphere, there's no weather, and they can stay in constant sunlight. The other benefit is that we're talking nearly so we're operating high performing computing hardware in space presents thermal and radiation challenges that differ fundamentally from terrestrial data centers. But space provides essentially an infinite heat sink through radiative cooling to 2.7 Kelvin cosmic microwave. So that's crazy. There's a lot here. So, like you said, instead of one massive space station, they're going to launch these 81 small satellites. They're going to fly in tight formation, like a synchronized swimming team in orbit. And they're going to each carry chips, and they're going to communicate using laser beams at incredibly high speeds. So together, they're going to function as one distributed data center floating 400 miles above Earth. This is cool. I think this is a great use of space, if that makes sense. What are your thoughts? Do you think this is a good idea, bad idea, or what are your thoughts?
Well, it's an interesting idea. The concept is very good. I guess the question is, how many people will have to live in outer space to maintain it?
True.
Is it going to be bots only? Are going to be people? Are we going to be remote controlled? Is this the beginning of Skynet? Literally, as you know, the data centers in the cloud, and we literally have no way of shutting it off anymore. There's all sorts of things that fly through my mind, but I love the concept of, hey, we're in space, so we can release as much heat as we want, and we literally can't affect anything.
Yeah.
So you don't have any cooling problems, and if you can get that kind of energy from the solar panels and solar nets and stuff they use in space, that will run these things along with any sort of nuclear stuff they might have to use, great. I mean, getting it off the planet, giving us more space, not contributing to the climate dilemma here. The question becomes the climate change, heat, and all that, and giving us more energy. It all sounds good to me, but I hesitate and say, okay, well, how much stuff is going to be floating out there?
Yeah.
And how soon till we can't see the sun anymore because there's so many satellites doing so many things and so many data centers. Like, the idea sounds great right now, but what happens when there's literally 1,000 of these Hive networked data centers in space?
Yeah, so you bring up a good point about maintenance, and I didn't see anything in there about maintenance. But if we're talking about the economic viability, so the economic feasibility, it actually hinges on dramatic reductions in launch costs. So currently, launch costs range from 1,500 to 2,900 per kilogram to low Earth orbit. Google's analysis suggests the break-even point occurs when launch costs reach approximately $200 per kilogram, which makes space-based infrastructure costs competitive with terrestrial data center energy expenses on a per kilowatt basis. The cost target could be achieved by 2035, and that's only if SpaceX Starship system reaches operational status and maintains a launch cadence of 180 missions annually. Also, the analysis assumes that satellite operational lifespans of 5 to 7 years to amortize launch costs effectively. So, obviously, this model is facing some uncertainty because of evolving terrestrial energy costs, but that's kind of where they're at. And that's a huge reduction from $2,900 to $200 per kilogram. I wonder if that centrifugal launch can reach those costs, those low costs.
Yeah, I don't know. That's very interesting. A good question to see if it could reach those low costs.
Yeah.
They've done extensive radiation testing on their Trillium B6E cloud TPU hardware. Testing involved exposing the chips to proton beam exposure to simulate space radiation. The results are promising. So this looks, very interesting what they're trying to do. The satellites will maintain formation of hundreds of meters to a few kilometers apart, requiring precise station-keeping maneuvers to maintain optimal position.
Yeah. So the thing that system is going to have to handle is dynamic network topologies, because satellites are going to enter and exit communication range with ground stations and each other, right? So they're going to have some sort of advanced mesh networking protocols, some predictive link scheduling based on the orbital mechanics. They're also going to need fault tolerance distributed algorithms, and like they're going to need a lot of complex protocols to maintain computational coherence across the constellation, for sure. Like, there's a lot of challenges and hurdles that they're going to have to overcome.
Yeah, and one of the challenges and hurdles that I talk about is the on-orbit system reliability demands redundant systems and remote maintenance capabilities because, unlike terrestrial data centers, physical repairs become impossible once satellites are deployed. So they might be, if they go down, they just replace it. Remote maintenance for fixes and updates, but if you brick a satellite, what happens? What happens when
when space debris collides with it?
Yeah, when Cloudflare does an update and it blue screen. Satellites will be built with backup components. If one fails due to radiation or defect, a backup part will automatically take over to keep the satellite running. But the plan is make these satellites completely self-sufficient and not to have it serviced by astronauts, which is interesting when it can actually service itself.
Yeah.
We're in a different kind of world, and we're heading to that. I just don't think we're there yet.
Think of it like this, guys. Think of it like 81 satellites performing an incredibly precise aerial ballet at 17,000 miles per hour. So they have to stay in formation within meters of each other while communicating via laser beams. That's going to be an incredible feat of engineering if they can accomplish it, for sure.
And they assume all the satellites, all the propulsion systems will be powered by solar?
Yeah. So apparently, obviously because of the direct sunlight, that will give it enough power to power these data centers.
Yeah, and I was more thinking of normally there's fuel or some sort in satellites to keep them rotating if they need to go back and forth. Are they using something else for propulsion to keep the things synced up, to do the minor adjustments to make sure everything can talk to each other perfectly? That's what I was wondering. And how long is there a fuel system that needs to be updated that
Good question. I'm sure they'll have batteries.
Well, we'll have to keep an eye on this, and if they have batteries that run everything, I'd say the solar panels will charge all of that, and everything works great.
Yeah.
So I love the idea. I'm a little concerned about, as the satellites operate dawn dusk synchronous orbit. That means they'll be following the sun, and as a result, as you get more and more clusters of them, we'll have all these satellite systems following the sun. We'll get a little bit of a sky pollution, for lack of a better word, and I'm curious as to where that will happen, whether the radiation hardening is going to last, whether the redundant systems will actually work. It's like when the light bulb burns out, you can't replace it. You just like the light bulb, you got to replace the whole satellite. So I'm curious to see how all of that becomes sustainable. What do you do with that unit when it's no longer functional? Something go pick it up? Does it fall to earth? Does, what happens? What's that? Again, I'm looking far ahead on, the whole cycle of this thing, but I do love the energy, the lower energy, putting that out there in space, the cooling, so it doesn't affect our environment, and that it doesn't take up real estate on Earth that seems to be more and more expensive than ever.
Yeah, absolutely.
So there you have it. Google is literally trying to catch the sun to power AI. It's an incredible, ambitious plan facing equally incredible challenges. It really highlights that the future of AI isn't just about software. It's a massive battle over hardware, energy, and resources. We'll have to wait until 2027 to see if those first prototypes even make it. What do you think? Is this the inevitable future or the most expensive moonshot yet? Let us know. Leave us your comments. So we've talked before how far Siri and Apple is behind in the AI world. So today we're diving into what could finally make Siri smart. Apple has just struck a massive $1 billion per year deal with its biggest rival, Google, to completely overhaul its voice assistant. This is a huge shift in strategy and could permanently change how you use your iPhone. Apple is paying Google's $1 billion annually to use its advanced Gemini AI to power Siri's most complex functions. This is a massive deal because it's Apple publicly admitting its own AI has fallen behind. It means Siri is about to get a revolutionary upgrade in intelligence, finally catching up to the competition and handling multi-step complex tasks. What do you think about this, John?
I am happy about this. This just goes to prove that Apple is no longer an innovative company, and they haven't been for ages. If you look at their phones, like their Apple, like nothing is innovative that comes out of there. And this just goes to show that they cannot innovate anymore. And I'm happy about that because hopefully this changes things with them and they become innovative again. But yeah, so the thing with this is Google's custom Gemini model, it has 1.2 trillion parameters. And you compare that to Apple's current model, and that has 150 billion parameters. So think of parameters as like the brain cells of AI. So more parameters generally means smarter responses. So this is like upgrading from a bicycle to a Ferrari. Okay. So this is interesting. I'm excited about this. I'm glad that Siri is finally getting an upgrade. I'm surprised. I'm surprised, but I'm also not surprised that they went with Google Gemini over Anthropic or OpenAI. But what do you think? Are you surprised by their move as far as selecting Gemini for this, Craig?
I'm surprised, but I assume, and I could be wrong, that they had a number of conversations with different competitors for different reasons. I assume they looked at the buy option for some of these and just thought it wasn't going to happen. Even though some of them are only, valued at $4 billion, which seems like a deal based on their $1 billion a year situation here. But I guess the $1 billion a year situation includes power, that Google's supplying all the GPU, CPU, data center power to power all of this.
Yeah. Again, Apple could have easily bought one of these, but maybe they just didn't want to sell. I honestly thought that they were going to go with something like Perplexity, because I think that aligns more with them.
I figured the price was just too high. Whoever was just like, yeah, we're not doing it unless it's, $100 billion.
Yeah. So it's funny though. So the thing is just to put this into perspective, that $1 billion annual payment, guess how much it represents of Apple's revenue?
Nothing.
0.26%. Not even a percent of the revenue. But it represents 1.1% of Google's, which creates an asymmetric strategy value. So for Google, the deal provides validation for its enterprise AI strategy. It also creates a substantial new revenue stream, and it has minimal marginal costs, right? So for Apple, it's insignificant compared to iPhone revenue, which is at risk because of the inferior AI experiences. So Siri's poor performance could theoretically cost Apple billions in reduced device sales and ecosystem stickiness. So they're smart to do this. They should have done this sooner. But this is a smart move for Apple for sure, finally.
And I'd like to clarify, Apple's private cloud compute infrastructure will run the entire system. This setup ensures user data stays completely separate from Google's own system. So I misspoke. Apple's going to run all the hardware, the software on their own hardware in their own data centers. So they have total control over the data, and it doesn't go to the third party Google.
Yeah.
Yeah, this looks like, Apple teams are developing a 1 trillion parameter model internally. So I guess they're still trying to work on this, and maybe that's why the rent versus buy solution. Hey, boss, we're only 5 years away or 3 years away, and somebody decided to do this. I'll believe it when I see it. They just seem so far behind, and every time I've used Apple AI on like my Mac, it's just disappointing. Yeah. And even though most times it's ChatGPT or whatever, like the images it creates is bad. It's just not good for anything. Other people might give me crap for that because they'll use it for this or that, but I try it and I'm like, yeah, forget it. I'm back to my Gemini or Claude or ChatGPT or what have you. Yeah. So I think that's part of the problem, that Apple realizes that the number one apps on their phone are other people's AI apps, and no one's using their AI. So they really need to change the game. If AI is the future, then they are way behind.
Yeah. And you know what, though, even as of right now, what do you think, would it be accurate to say that Google is behind Anthropic and OpenAI, or do you think that Gemini is on par or ahead?
I like today,
because I don't know. I don't know what that answer is. I would say that they're behind, but I don't use Gemini, so I wouldn't know.
Yeah, today I'm just saying that OpenAI just released 5.1.
Yeah.
I don't know how good it is. Gemini is faster. I use Gemini. I like it better for some things. Like I use it more when I'm preparing for the podcast now than I do for ChatGPT. Just because I like the output.
Yeah.
So I would think that it has come out quite along from the embarrassing start it had. It still has issues. It's still heavily biased in lots of areas.
Yeah.
But that's why we have, I can't remember. I complained to you about it a fair bit. It won't even do this.
Yeah.
It won't even do that. Like, really? And I just jumped to another AI and it does it no problem. But it is so much better. Like their image generation is so much faster. The responses are so much faster. OpenAI is slow. Like it might be say everything else around what you want, but it's slow. If you're using it through the API, slow. It's one of the slowest, even interacting with it. It's one of the slowest out there. So it may get you good results, but sometimes I'm getting more and more impatient. I can generate 5, 6 good looking images in Google Gemini before OpenAI is done producing one.
Yeah.
Like, okay, so what do you do in that situation? So besides that, besides the performance, I like OpenAI results in some things, and like Gemini results in. I think they are leapfrogging each other now, and Google has really come a long way and has taken a lot of the stuff out that was causing some problems before. So, like the stuff they pulled from Reddit, they're starting to find. I've noticed when I posted stuff about Google on or Google AI on the internet, like, what the heck is this? They have responded and they have said, hey, can you send me this and send me that? Because they want to know why this is happening. Because it's, like when I posted that, welcome to the jungle.
Okay.
In the middle of it's doing a list for me, and it just decided to print out welcome to the jungle. We've got fun and games or something like that in the middle of a report it was doing.
Crazy.
And I'm like, what the heck is this? So there's nothing, there was no, anyway, there's some stuff it randomly does, but I don't know if that's any worse or better than ChatGPT. Yeah. So I use Gemini a fair bit. I mean, AI Studio, Google, everyone should be using it while it's still free. It's pretty good until it's not, when you're building apps and whatever, but that's most vibe coding platforms. Everything's great until it decides to take a left turn, and then things go to crap. When it decides, hey, I'm going to change React models in the middle of your thing, and all of a sudden you're getting errors like nobody's business or whatever it decides to do. But back to this, like, I think it's going to take, this is what it's going to take for Apple, or for people to take AI serious on Apple products.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and this is what it's going to take. How long it's going to take them to come back out with their own 1 trillion plus platform that they're trying to build. I don't know.
Yeah.
And they're using the Gemini Ultra model, and I'm not quite sure what model that is, so I'd have to do a little more digging, because there's an ultra image model, but I don't see an ultra model period, like when I'm using Gemini. Okay. So that might be something I don't have access to, or that might be a new back end thing.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see. So is Apple swallowing its pride to give us a smarter Siri, all while planning to rip out and replace its rivals tech in just a year? We'll be watching this one very closely coming the spring of 2026 to see if they can pull it off. What do you think? Is this a brilliant move or a desperate one? Let us know your thoughts. Is this going to make AI on Apple products actually usable or not?
Dealer's choice for the next one, whatever you want to cover.
Well, we might as well do this one. This is more newsy than the other one.
True.
Or more timely anyway. The other one we'll talk about next week. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to make sure the banners, everything's matched.
Oh.
Yeah, let's dive into one of the most controversial and massive compensation plans in corporate history. Tesla shareholders have just approved a new package for Elon Musk that has no salary, no guaranteed bonus, and is tied to a staggering goal, growing Tesla to an $8.5 trillion company. This isn't just about pay. It's a bet on the future of AI, robotics, and whether one person can be incentivized to change the world. This is a 100% performance-based plan that gives Elon Musk stock options only if Tesla hits massive market cap and operational goals. It's a huge deal because it aligns his pay directly with shareholder value, ensuring he focuses on Tesla's ambitious long-term vision for AI, robotics, and its master plan, part 4. He either creates massive wealth for everyone or he gets nothing. What do you think about this, John?
Yeah. So So just to kind of how it's going to work is he's going to earn stock grants in 12 separate tranches or portions. So Tesla has to hit increasingly ambitious goals to get the full payout. So in order for him to do that, Tesla's value must grow, like you said, from 1.5 trillion to 8.5 trillion, which is essentially a 6x increase. So each tranche requires two types of achievement. Okay. It requires market value milestones, which means Tesla becoming worth more, and operational milestones like selling 20 million vehicles annually, deploying 1 million robo-taxis, or delivering 1 million Optimus robots. So the company also must achieve massive profit targets, scaling from 50 billion to 400 billion in annual earnings. So this is crazy. It's not just about money, it's more about control. The package would increase Musk's voting power from 13% to 25%, which would give him near total control over Tesla. And so critics are calling it a pay for unchecked power, while supporters say it ensures the world's most valuable CEO stays focused on Tesla instead of his other ventures. Now, the timeline. The thing is that Musk can't sell the stock immediately, and he must remain at Tesla for at least 7.5 years to keep voting rights. So if Tesla hits just the first milestone, which is the $2 trillion market cap, Musk would already earn about $50+ billion. What are your thoughts on this, Craig?
I mean, this is going to have his critics screaming and the people who love him saying, yeah, right on. That's the way it should be. And I sit back and they're right about a few things. Yeah. Like, if you want him to focus on Tesla, then having a fully incentivized packages, so you're not running off to SpaceX and worry about Mars and worry about the Boring Company and worrying about this and that and the other thing that you're focused here. Well, Twitter and X and what have you, right? All the things. But is it worth $1 trillion? I
don't know.
But I like the fact that it's 100% tied to performance, because so many compensation packages, golden parachutes, whatever you want to call it, aren't these days. So people will, you fire a CEO for bad performance, they still get their 15 million or whatever salary, and they're happy. They take their package and off they go, and they get X, number of years and whatever paid, and they're living. So, incentivizing this, saying, listen, if you don't get us to an $8.5 trillion valuation, you're not going to get this.
Yeah.
And though there are some incentives along the way, you meet, milestone 1, you get this, you meet milestone 2, you get this. That is standard in the project world for founders. A lot of times you'll start with a base salary of, okay, I only need like 45K to live while I'm doing this. But if I reach my revenue targets and my product release milestones, I'll get bonuses or I'll get salary increases or what have you along the way, because that makes those milestones. So that's not unusual. It's the $1 trillion is that unusual. And
let's just put that, like, let's bring that down to earth. That $1 trillion value assumes that Tesla achieves maximum performance targets and stock appreciation, right? So that's only if it achieves like the best case scenario.
So I also did a little bit of a deep dive on this to say, okay, it was last year, might even been earlier this year. It blurs a little bit that he was denied his $50+ billion package. Yeah. It was come due to payment, and the government in one of the states said no. And doing a deep dive and say this is less likely to be subject to that, because the big problem about that other paycheck that got denied was Elon Musk had, as the number one shareholder, had more influence over the board. The whole process of how that contract was developed and who approved it was questionable. Now this went out to all the shareholders. Who was a majority shareholder vote. It was clear on what they were voting on. So there's very little likelihood, at least for the same things, that this will get turned over. I just wanted to clarify that because, great, they're going to pay him $1 trillion, but when the time comes, someone's going to go, nope. Thanks for working us for nothing.
Yeah. I do, but I agree with you on principle that this would keep them focused. This would incentivize to keep them focused, which is what they need for Tesla.
Yeah, and it's a ridiculous package. However, we're seeing more and more packages that are sky high like this, but it's a ridiculous ask. Can Tesla deliver become an 8.5 trillion market cap company? Yeah. And
that would mean you'd have to be more valuable than Nvidia is right now.
Yeah, so this is a huge leap forward. If he does achieve it, definitely worth something. Is it $1 trillion? I don't know, but according to the shareholders, it is. And they all voted on it, and they're the ones who are going to be impacted one way or the other when this happens. So I guess we should just let it ride if we believe in our capitalist society.
Yeah.
So that's the story. It's either a brilliant move to align a visionary CEO with shareholders' goals for a sustainable future, or it's an impossibly large gamble. What do you think? Is an $8.5 trillion Tesla even possible, or is it just a fantasy? We'll be tracking this one for years to come. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So, what do you got going on, John?
Yeah, well, just focusing on government funding, and if anyone needs any help, reach out to me on LinkedIn. But if they need help with their company and their startup, and where do they go and what do they do, Craig?
Well, if you're looking for help with your startup, or you want to just meet with other founders, meet investors, join our community over at torontostarts.com. We have events going on all the time. Although this will come out in late December, early January. It's November right now, and Startup Drinks is tonight. So head over to startupdrinksto.com if you want to hit our monthly networking event. Otherwise, check out things at torontostarts.com. But if you're looking for business automation and to future-proof your business, go over to flowgrammer.ca, book a strategy call, take a look at what we do, and we'll help get your business on the right track and start automating those things that take away your focus and let you focus on the actual things that matter to you as a business. And if you're interested in our builder community, go over to flowgrammers.ca. That's our community site. We have workflows. We talk about our upcoming events. We have prompts. We have all stuff for community with tools that our community build and post that you can use. Definitely check out flowgrammers.ca for all your community stuff. And John, if people are looking for non-dilutive funding, where do they go? What do they do? What's happening?
Yeah, find me on LinkedIn. Find me, John Irwin, on LinkedIn. I'm pretty active on there. That's the best way you can book a time with me through there. So that's your best bet.
And has there been many changes in the funding situation the startups should be aware of lately?
There's been a lot of changes to Shred in the new budget. There's a great article that I wrote. If you have any questions, reach out to me. This means public companies can now get the enhanced rate. That means that there's potential capital expenditures that you can claim. It's great. It's a great step forward for innovation, for sure.
Thank you, everyone, for watching or listening, and leave us a comment. If you give us a like, give us a share. If you didn't like it, give us an unlike or a thumb down button. That's cool, too. We'd love to have your feedback. Thanks, everyone, for listening and watching.